Um, in the last couple of minutes, I wanted to talk a little bit with you about another one of Musk's companies. I know you've written about it, and we've covered it a decent amount on this program. But SpaceX, right? And SpaceX is, it's in South Texas. It's in a part of the state that, in my opinion, has been really underserved, both from the state government and the federal government. And there's been significant damage both like to the local communities and to the ecology of the region and the environment. I mean, could you give people, because everyone basically, when it comes to SpaceX, it's like you watch the rockets go and you either think that's cool and interesting, or you see them blow up and you dunk on them on Twitter, right? And I'm not saying anything's wrong with doing that. I do the same thing. But there's this whole other story about like local people and people who reside in that area who basically have this massive corporation come into their backyard and starts dictating to them like literally how they live their lives in some aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to caveat, my reporting on this was mostly done in 2021, but as far as I'm aware, the broad strokes of it are all still the same. Basically, SpaceX chose to set up shop on basically right up against this heavily used but free to access beach, which is just towards the water from Brownsville, Texas, just south across a ship channel from South Padre Island, which maybe some of the viewers here have heard of. This beach has basically long been the poor people's beach, the locals' beach. Tourists would come down from other parts of the state and country and go to South Padre, but locals from Brownsville and the Valley, they would go to this free beach. And it was the kind of place that, it just rows of pickup trucks all the way up and down, and people grilling, people fishing. It was just a family type beach. Is very that was sort of borderline kind of secret to the community there. And then not to mention that sort of the area around the beach is actually very ecologically sensitive. That little southern tip of Texas has all kinds of plant and animal species that aren't anywhere else in America, and sometimes aren't anywhere else, period. SpaceX chose that place because the state of Texas basically said, we will literally modify our open access to beaches law so that you can come here and you can shut down this public road to the beach whenever you want. All of our legislators will basically sing your praises and give you anything you ask for, basically, to get you to come here. And you basically got from that the result you might expect, which is every time there was a limit put on how many hours they were supposed to shut down that road to the beach for, SpaceX would just blow past it. I mean, it wasn't really, as a reporter, it wasn't hard to figure out. It was obvious. It was blatant. The cap was here and they were going double. They just shut it down whenever they want, practically. And just other little stuff like, they told federal regulators that the light from their launch site wouldn't reach the beach during sea turtle nesting season, So I just walk out to the beach during sea turtle nesting season at night, look at the launch site, the light is covering the entire beach. It's like, I take a picture, here it is, but there aren't really consequences. And so I think it is a through line. I don't think this is a super controversial opinion, really, to say there's a through line with Musk's companies of, if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. I mean, of just sort of, he'll blow through any barriers if the barriers aren't real, and, in different ways, low income Texans of color kind of specifically are kind of paying the price, Of course, on the other hand, there are jobs, there is tax revenue generated from these things to some extent, but and so just to wrap it up, I was not surprised to see just the other week when they had their big advertised launch of the name of what's the name? Do you remember the name of the rocket?
I'm forgetting it right now.
They're launching the Falcon 1, and then they're launching the big one, the one that can go to Mars one day.
Yeah.
Anywho, they finally launched it, and of course it blew to smithereens. And of course SpaceX said, LOL, rapid unscheduled disassembly. Isn't this hilarious? And then the particle rained down on like communities for miles around for 24 hours after or whatever. So.
And the size of I mean, obviously it was a massive rocket. One of the larger ones, if not the largest one ever, like launched. Way bigger than anything that they were approved for, too, right? They just sort of pushed the envelope.
They just changed it, and I mean, ultimately, the federal government decided to allow it.
Yeah.
But yes, basically, they just changed the whole plan from what they originally approved for. That's right.
No, I mean, there's like a lot of stories from what's going on with the Boring Company around here, in the Austin area, in Kyle, Texas. I mean, what's frightening for me as a Texan is that, like, when these companies were coming here, you would read about some of the things that would happen at Tesla, SpaceX, or facilities elsewhere, or like the Boring Company's activities in other places, and realizing that, like, if they're able to get away with it in a place like California, which obviously is not perfect state or anything like that, but knowing what the political environment that he would be coming into here, it is really worrying. Yeah. Well, Gus, I can't thank you enough for coming on Left Reckoning. We'd love to do it again sometime soon.
Yeah.
People, make sure that you subscribe to the Texas Observer. I mean, they really are indispensable for covering the state. I've been reading them, I mean, forever, honestly, and I really appreciate all the work that you do, Gus, and all of your coworkers as well.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks, Gus.